I think most people who grew up playing video games will agree with me when I say the villains were always pretty cool. That love for cool villains, at least for me, evolved into a dream of wanting to play as these finished characters one day. When I started playing more games, I started to realize that these dreams could become a reality, depending on the game of course. I'd say my favorite examples are Mega Scott from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Bowser literally being the main character of the entire story, and learning that with enough finesse, you can play as the Meanies in Little Big Planet 2. It looks close enough, right? But none of those games really scratch the itch like the one we'll be focusing on today. Enter Hell But a Hero. Because not everyone has sat around for hours playing Superstar Ultra like me, I'll give a little bit of background info you need to know to fully understand Helper the Hero mode. In Kirby Superstar Ultra, if you grab an ability and press the X button, you'll create a helper. The main purpose of this was to allow multiplayer functionality when you and a friend wanted to play the game together. I say the main purpose is multiplayer functionality because the AI of the helpers are extremely bad. They usually end up dying before they can actually help, but that's beside the point. The thing that I always found fascinating was how the helpers take the form of the enemy that gives you the power. Which to me was always crazy, because they could have just created a Kirby adjacent character like they did later with Gooey, but instead they decided to make all of these extra sprites so that these characters could serve as both enemies and playable characters. Because no one else I knew had the game at the time, the only way I could experience playing as these extra characters was through Helper the Hero mode, which is why still to this day is one of my favorite experiences in any Kirby game. But that's enough on the background. Let's get into the mode itself. Helper the Hero is a spin-off of the arena, a boss rush where you fight 19 bosses in a row, with the last one always being marks. All of the bosses before marks are in a random order so that they're from this pool. Before you start the boss rush, they allow you to choose any ability to take on the challenge, and after defeating a boss, you'll be sent back to a little hub with some maximum tomatoes to get yourself back to full if you've been taking damage. They also put 2 random abilities on the side, just in case you want to switch abilities after a battle. The mode is pretty easy, as they give you ample healing in the face of danger. Not only that, but most of the bosses are filler and aren't really too difficult to beat in the first place. Yep, that sure was a boss battle. Hey, that shit was Helper the Hero is similar in this aspect, as it isn't too difficult because while there aren't any filler bosses like the arena, the bosses in this game simply just aren't very challenging, and the challenge of the mode only presents itself if you decide to take on the challenge of beating the mode with every helper. However, unlike the arena, the bosses you fight in Helper the Hero mode are always in the same order, and will go as follows every time. Wispy Woods, Mid-Boss All-Stars 1, Kracko, King DDD, Dynablade, Fatty Whale, Chameleon Arm, Mid-Boss All-Stars 2, Twin Woods, Heavy Lobster, Computer Virus, specifically the one from Milky Way Wishes, Meta Knight, and Wham Bam Rock, who, after defeating, you realize he isn't the true final boss. The true final boss is Wham Bam Jewel. And while Wham Bam Jewel is a bit of a pushover for a final boss, really just being an enhanced Wham Bam Rock with more HP and slightly stronger attacks, and a few more added attacks, I will at least give him that he looks really cool. Honestly, one of my favorite designs of a Kirby boss. With that being said though, I will concede that having all the bosses being in the same order every single time is a weird decision that can make the mode feel worse than the arena. But for me personally, the challenge of having to do a solo run using only one ability the entire time against these 13 bosses is enough to keep it interesting, especially given the fact that Kirby Superstar Ultra has the most solid ability lineup of any Kirby game, at least in my opinion, which is what really sells the mode for me. Speaking of which, this game's list of copy abilities is really solid. It's definitely in the top 3 below Robobot and Return to Dreamland for me personally. With that being said, it's no surprise that doing a solo run of a boss rush with just these abilities will be a lot of fun for me. That and the fact that the helpers have one unique difference that makes them a little more fun and different from playing with Kirby. That difference is that instead of floating, they have an infinite jump that it decreases in strength slightly every single time they jump. This allows them to utilize their moves more fluidly, as they don't have to enter and exit the float animation like Kirby does, which in my opinion makes them a bit more fun to play. Now I won't go over every single ability, as if you've played any other Kirby game you probably already know how some of these work, so I'm going to go over the highlights and talk about the ones I find the most fun to play, going in ascending order, starting with Bomb, or Poppy Bro Jr. in this case, is a staple ability in Kirby, but Bomb Kirby has never controlled this good in any other Kirby game. The ability is very simple. You can pull out a bomb, you can throw the bomb, you can angle the bomb, you can drop it on the ground, do a dash throw, or put the bomb on the enemy's head. It's simple, but just spamming these bombs at the bosses as Poppy Bro Jr., who probably has one of my favorite designs here, is just satisfying. It may feel a bit mashy at times when beating some bosses, but that's a part of the fun. Jet, or Capsule J2 in this case, is an ability that was introduced in Superstar, and I didn't like it at first, but it grew on me when I discovered how powerful it was. Jet's standard attack is a jet engine charge that when released shoots you forward at a high speed like a jet.
No shit, Sherlock.
But if you press B mid-dash, you'll perform a move called Jet Cracker. This move does huge damage, and using it to mow down bosses is super satisfying. Also, for a quick fun fact, the Jet Helper is called Capsule J2 because in the original Superstar on SNES, they look like this. In the DS version, they gave it a redesign, going from Capsule J to Capsule J2. Gim is my third favorite helper, and he has my second favorite ability, Being Yo-Yo. I don't really have too much to say here. I just think Hal did a really good job at making this ability feel very versatile and fun to use. Also, shout out to Yo-Yo for having the first down-up input before all the other Kirby games gave all the abilities down-up attack inputs. The GOAT for real. Tack is a very special helper, as in they kind of had to rework how the actual helper works to make him playable in this mode. In standard play, if Tack touches an enemy that will give Kirby a copy ability, he would transform into the corresponding helper. In Helper to Hero mode, he doesn't do that, instead treating every enemy as a normal ability-less enemy. This means he only has two moves, an attack where he throws his hand out, and a stronger version of throwing his hand out with more distance and damage. He is incredibly fun to play because of this, especially because of how his attacks work. When Tack's hand makes contact with an enemy, he is immediately able to attack again, which means that for bosses that don't move around too much, you can simply just do this with him. Bro, this is why he's my mascot. He's so cool. Not only that, but his guard is completely intangible. He takes 0 damage from guarding all the time. This character's just dumb fun, bro. Lastly, we have Plasma, or Plasma Wisp. The ability is tied with Hammer for being the strongest ability in the game. At least that's what I think. Plasma is a unique ability where you don't perform your abilities by doing different inputs. You instead charge electricity by moving around, and the more electricity you charge, the stronger your move's output. The two moves you're specifically looking for are Plasma Laser and Plasma Wave. These moves do crazy damage, and spamming them isn't hard as long as you don't mind mashing the hell out of your D-pad, which I surely don't. Strategy I usually use is to guard in mid-air since Plasma Wisp has full aerial movement, and to charge while standing still since it feels better than moving around like a maniac to charge. If you keep this up, most bosses go down in less than 15 seconds. It's truly the premier ability of the game, and it's really fun to use. Matter of fact, I'm going to drop my tier list. This is what I believe is each helper from easiest to win to hardest to win. If you want to debate about it, I'll post a link in the community tab. Well, not a link, but I'll post it in the community tab so everyone can see it. If you want to debate about it, then you're open to. But if you don't, it's fine. It's Helper to Hero, so, you know, it's not much to really debate about. But hey, if you want to talk about it, I'm down to talk about it. This is one of my favorite niche subjects, and I really enjoy talking about niche things that, you know, I think only me enjoy. Only I enjoy, you know? But yeah. You know, for this video, I went back and completed the challenge of beating Helper to Hero with every helper, and I was pleasantly surprised at how my opinion of the mode remains mostly unchanged after all these years. This was my third time beating it 100% like this, and I truly enjoyed every minute of it. Playing as every helper and turning them into the hero that defeats the great Wham Bam Jewel is something that I think everyone should try at least once, as in my opinion, with this line of abilities in Kirby and the lineup of bosses, it is genuinely one of the most fun experiences to be had in a Kirby game. You know, if only there was a mode where you could just go on a full adventure as these characters, you know, that was on average like, you know, 50 minutes to an hour long, with an even larger selection to choose from. Yeah. I'll make a video on you later. Good night, everybody.